I, like so many others in this hobby, am almost always broke. Loving sports cards is a blessing and a curse. They can be a great escape from reality, and if done right, can be a great alternative investment. However, they cost so much, and I can't always afford all the ones that I want because there's so many. But what if I told you that I built a collection worth almost $500 for only $25 out of pocket without ever touching a card? And that you could too. Let's get into it. What's going on YouTube? Flipping Out SC coming at you with another new video. And in today's video, we're talking about collecting on a budget, how to buy and sell without ever touching a card, and what types of cards are best to build a collection this way. Like I stated in the intro, over the past 2 years, I've built a collection worth almost $500 for only $25 out of pocket. Today, I'm going to tell you how I did it, and be sure to stick around to the end, where I'm going to give you my number one piece of advice for building a collection this way, if you want to as well. Let's start by telling you how I did it, and that was by using COMC. You see, COMC is an online sports card marketplace where you can buy and sell cards with ease. One of the ways you can sell on COMC is to send them your cards to sell on their platform. You send the cards to their warehouse, they receive them, list them, and notify you that they're listed in your account. And all you have to do is price them. The wait for the cards to get there and get listed is slightly time consuming. And they also charge 50 cents per card to list them. So depending on the amount of cards you send in, it can be a fairly large investment up front. But COMC also has another selling feature on their site, the relist feature. On COMC, you can buy and relist cards directly on the site. This feature is ideal for flipping cards. To be able to buy a card and instantly relist it for your desired price makes flipping so easy. No paying a shipping fee, no waiting for the card to come in the mail, and no having to reship a card once sold. No packaging, printing, or writing shipping labels, and no creating new listings. Just buy it at the desired price, set the price you want for it, and wait for someone to come along and buy it. It's that simple. Yay! It's with this method that I've been able to build a $500 collection with just a small investment of $25. If you're an OG follower, you may know what it is I'm talking about. You see, I love a good challenge, and I also love watching a good challenge video. So my very first video, and a few subsequent videos thereafter, were about my $25 COMC flip challenge. But a few videos in, life really got in the way, and I was unable to update the challenge as it went on. However, I can assure you that throughout the last 2 years, I've been keeping tabs on my account and buying flip cards here and there. I still check in on my account weekly, and even with that small of a time investment, I've been able to take that $25 investment and build it into something I'm quite proud of, a collection worth over $500. But let's jump into explaining how this all went down. And if I'm being honest, the beginning wasn't all that easy. So let's start there. I started the challenge with, quite obviously, lower end type cards. I tried to keep my purchases to a point where I could at least see myself profiting 25 to 50 cents per card. So I was buying cards in the 50 cents to $1 range. I know that doesn't sound like much, but with a starting budget of only $25, that's 25 to 50 cards. So you gotta do what you gotta do. Cards I started out buying were things like cheap speckled rainbow foils, some fluorescence red, and surprisingly the red die cuts from Tim Hortons. As I've recently found out, a lot of people enjoyed building that set when it was around, so I guess that's why those cards moved well for me when they first hit COMC. Mid-range players like Thomas Hurdle and Nikolai Ehlers seemed to move okay, but a few of them took a while to sell. I also bought a few rainbow color wheels of players like Johnny Gaudreau, rest in peace, and Steven Stamkos that at the time didn't sell very well at all, and I ended up having to liquidate them down the line. One of my biggest purchases at the beginning of the challenge kind of blew the budget, and it was the speckled rainbow foil of Michael Bunting. I know, Michael Bunting? But remember, this was back in December of 2022, when Bunting was still part of the beloved Leafs, and let's be clear, Leafs fans will still buy anything. I paid $2.50 for this card, and it sold just hours after buying it for $5.50, which equated to $5.22 after fees. After the first few months, I'd made enough to move into cards that cost around the $1 to $5 range. However, if it was anything close to that $5 side of things, it still felt like quite the gamble, as my budget overall was still really quite small. It was here that I started targeting UD exclusives, higher numbered cards of star players, and even some cheap young guns, and retro young guns. This is also around the time that Dawson Mercer got really hot, and I picked up a bunch of his cards. I even splurged most of my budget when I found 3 of his base young guns. I bought the first 2 for $7.75 a piece, as I knew I could move them for a profit at that price. But I literally didn't even have enough for all 3 that were listed. I did later find another one, after I'd moved the first 2, for $7.50, and I bought that one too. Sometimes you have to miss small opportunities in a challenge like this just due to budget constraints, but don't worry, they always come back around. I think the best flip I had during this part of the challenge was when I found this Nick Robertson Artifacts rookie jersey auto out of 99, listed with a condition note for $4.74. I scooped it up as fast as I could and sold it only a few hours later for $19.99 or $18.99 after fees. Again, Leafs fans, I tell you. After this, I didn't move up the stakes for quite a while. I stayed in the $2.50 to $10 range for quite a while after. I started to try a bit more of buying quantity instead of buying quality, as I just loved the emotional high of logging into your account and seeing new sales. In this time, I found myself buying lots of silver foils of Crosby and Ovechkin, French cards of Montreal players like Caulfield, and any weirdly rare parallels, like this Artifacts Wood parallel of Ron Hextall. I even found a seller having a great silver foil Young Gun sale and picked up a few Tomasino, Colton, and Ulanins that I was able to move quite quickly and for a really nice profit. But like I say, for quite some time, I was just buying anything and everything that I thought that I could move for a profit. And this took me to 2024, when I didn't have as much time to scour the site. I also realized that small cards started moving less and less, so I decided to try something I'd never done before. A full port sale. I wanted to see if I could move everything, sell it all, and start fresh, with an empty port and what I would consider, for the sake of this challenge, a massive bankroll. I'd gone through port sales before and noticed that 90% of them were overpriced, so I made a point to make mine very fairly priced to just try to move it. There was no point in making a port sale and trying to waste my time and everyone else's by overpricing everything when I'd already gotten into 99% of the cards at a really good price. I can't remember how many cards were in my account when I tried to sell it, but I did find a screenshot of the sale after it went through, and I sold my account for $85.50, leaving me with a total account balance of $251.10. Not too shabby for an old $25 flip account. It was at this point I made a conscious effort to try and buy bigger cards. My goal was to buy nothing that would sell for less than $10, but to really try and buy cards that would sell for $30 or more to start bringing in bigger profits. And to be quite honest, that hasn't worked out quite as well as I hoped it would. I started out by buying a few Metal X cards, a couple of Platinum Mosaics, an achievement card or two, a couple of low-numbered parallels, and even a debut ticket auto. But I have found that a lot of bigger cards don't move too quickly on the site. You see, I find that people on COMC are looking to buy a bunch of smaller cards for their PC or for their sets and combine shipping to send them all home in one big shipment. Therefore, I think the small cards sell really well. So the focus on big cards is okay, but you have to find really good deals for people to even take a second look. But as I said in the intro, I now value my account at around that $500 mark. But to justify that, let's take a look at some stats and a few of the cards in my account. Currently, my COMC Flip account has 59 cards in it and a balance of $26.32 in COMC credit. I've made $1,742.97 in sales, which I'm quite proud of, and I've sold 496 cards, an average of approximately $3.51 per sale. Of the 59 cards in my account, currently 34 are listed for sale. Most of what is not for sale is either duplicates that I found for good prices or cards I'm waiting to go up in value before listing. Most of the cards that aren't listed are cards under a couple of dollars, aside from a few of them. Now, to look at the cards in my account to justify the $500 valuation, we won't go over all of them. It would just take too long. But we will go over enough of them to reach that value. So let's start with the two cards that aren't for sale. The first is this 2021-22 Ovechkin Cosmic Blue Pack Horse Parallel from OPG Platinum. This card is currently not for sale, as I bought it for $21, and there are two on the site for $19 and $22, so it currently wouldn't make much sense for someone to buy it for more than that. But these cards are SPs from the OPG Platinum Pack Horse packs, and so I believe in it going up over the long term, and therefore don't mind it sitting in my account for a while. I value this card at about $20 currently. The other card that is not for sale is this 2022-23 Matthews Speckled Rainbow Foil PSA 10. I had originally bought this card raw and graded it myself with full intentions of reselling it after. But when it came back at 10, I had second thoughts. I currently PC Speckled Rainbow Foil cards of Matthews, McDavid, Crosby, and Ovechkin, and I'm trying to get each in a PSA 10. I don't currently have this one, and with my flip account growing to the size it has, I feel it's a good time to move this card out of my account and finally take something out to keep. I mean, that is the whole intention of flipping, in my opinion, to make enough money to buy the cards you actually want. As for the value of this card, there's currently one listed on COMC raw for $17.85, but I think that's a really good deal, as they usually sell around the $25 mark. In a PSA 10, I'm going to go with the rough estimate of $90, as that's in line with the last sold comp. Now for the cards for sale. From most expensive to least, let's start with this 2020-2021 Credentials Debut Ticket Yellow out of 35 of Tim Stützle. When I saw this card pop up on COMC, it had a condition note of corner wear. From what I could see, the corners looked pretty okay. The bottom left is questionable, but even after I had it elite scanned, it looked pretty well fine. This card was also listed as numbered out of 75, but after some quick research, I figured out that was actually incorrect, and I had COMC change it to out of 35. Stutzel's last debut ticket auto red out of 25 sold for $180 Canadian, so even though I'm asking $140 American, I would probably value this around the $115 mark. Next is a Matthews Planet Metal Platinum Achievement out of 49. These platinum parallels look so good with the Leafs jersey. I've never held one in hand, but the color match online looks almost exact, and I think that makes this card absolutely stunning. Being numbered out of 49 also helps the value greatly, and although I'm asking $75, as I have a COMC monopoly, so why not try and ask for a little extra and leave some room for negotiation, I would place a value of approximately $50 on this card. To the right of that, we have another Planet Metal Achievement, but this time it's the red parallel of Cole Caulfield, numbered to 199, and in a CSG 10. I picked this card up for what I thought was a really good deal. This is probably due to the fact that it's in a CSG slab, and I really just don't know many people who collect their slabs in the sports world. Being that this is his rookie year, and again, another color match, I feel this card is worth approximately $50 as well. And to the right we go, with a card I recently picked up after his hot start, a lustrous rookie patch auto of Philip Gustafsson out of 199. Gustafsson hasn't gotten much love yet, but I see that changing in the future if he can keep up this hot start. I was recently talking to a friend of mine in Sweden about the Four Nations Cup, and aside from Markstrom, we both agree that Gustafsson is probably the next best Swedish goalie and should be the backup. A case could definitely be made for Ullmark, but I think Gustafsson shows up more often. For that reason, I want to snag this card before it got a nice little price jump, and I think even though this card most recently sold for $17, it's worth at least double at that $35 with his recent play. With the next card, and another one thereafter, you'll notice a bit of a theme. The 21-22 OPG Platinum Cosmic Blue Pack Wars parallels are some of my favorite. A lot of people don't know quite how short they are, so you can usually find some pretty sweet deals. I, again, really love that this Caulfield is a rookie year insert, and therefore think that its value is right around that $35 mark. If we move to the right once more, we have a classic rainbow color wheel of the Great One. A fairly common card, but a fan favorite nonetheless, and one that really is worth the $35 to $40 we have it listed at. Not a ton of these to go around anymore, as they're from 2018-19, so it should be able to fetch at least $35. And last but not least for the first row, is the David Pasternak Metal X case hit. These cards came out of Skybox Metal Universe at a rate of 1 in every 240 packs, and there were 70 cards in the set, which makes each player come out at a rate of 1 in every 16,800 packs. This in turn makes each player quite rare, even if the set itself isn't the rarest. It's cards such as these that I love picking up because, again, people will sometimes price cards based on the pack odds of the set and not the odds of the player, resulting in really good deals. This card is, again, worth at least $20. Now, moving into the second row, we have 5 more cards to go over, starting with another 21-22 OPG Platinum Cosmic Blue Pack Wars parallel of another rookie in Spencer Knight. This one is tough to value correctly, as Knight isn't off to a great start in his NHL career, but I still think he has quite the following, and a lot of people still believe in him. Another one of these was just recently added to the site, so I actually dropped my price down to $19.99, but I think this card should fetch at least around $15. From one e-pack exclusive to another, we have a gold circular wonder parallel from 21-22 Ovation, a set that was exclusively released on e-pack. These parallels were combination parallels and could not be pack pulled. They took 125 base cards to complete and therefore are again very rare. The downside to this card is, much like Knight, Pinto isn't off to a great start of the season and recently just got injured. Unless he makes it back into the lineup and turn things around really quickly, this card could be dropping in value fast. But I do think that the current value of this card should be somewhere around the $10 to $15 range. Moving into another player who didn't start the season off ice cold, but actually red hot, we have a fluorescence gold out of 150 of Dustin Wolf. Of course, me being a Flames fan, I'm quite the homer. But it's tough to say that he didn't have a red hot start to the season. He has had a few off games lately, but I still think his stock has definitely risen with that of all the Flames since the season has begun. This card shouldn't be in my port much longer. I have it listed at $15, and although I think it could sell for that, for the sake of this video, I'll put the value at $10. And since they're much smaller than the rest, the last two we'll talk about together. And they're again e-pack exclusive cards in a platinum mosaic of the in action insert for Steven Stamkos, along with the color wheel variation of John Tavares. These two cards may have also lost a little value since the start of the season, as neither of these players is off to a hot start. Either way, they're both fairly rare inserts, and I think they should still sell somewhere in the range of $5 to $8. And like I say, we won't talk about the rest of the cards individually, but I think that the other 45 cards left in my account have a combined value of at least $15, bringing the total value of my port to over $500. And to me, that's a pretty great result when I literally thought that this challenge wasn't going to be possible when I started. To have a $500 collection from just $25 starting is kind of insane. And as much as I'd like to go over all of my top flips and give you all the stories and details surrounding those, I don't want this video to drag on too long, so I think that's going to be better saved for another video. But if you'd like to see that, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe so you don't miss out. Now, where do I go from here? It's a question I've been thinking about quite a while, and I think that as long as I'm living abroad, which I currently am, I just keep it going. The sales aren't quite hot and heavy like they once were, but every couple of days another one or two trickle in. Once I do move home, I plan on selling my port home and or selling it online and buying something really nice for my PC. I'm clearly still quite uncertain as to what it is I'm going to buy with the money, but I can guarantee you that my philosophy from the first video has definitely changed. I originally wanted to buy Young Guns with the profits from this challenge, but I'm not quite as interested in Young Guns, and with how much they produce Young Guns these days, it just really doesn't make much sense for me, and I want to buy something quite a bit more rare for my PC to hold long term. Before I go, as promised, I have to share my number one piece of advice if you want to start a collection like this yourself. And that piece of advice is stay patient. I know, it's not groundbreaking and it's not a breakthrough. It's not something you probably haven't heard before, but it is so important when running a flip challenge of your own. This is a passion project. It is not a get-rich-quick scheme. It's something I do in my spare time when I'm a little bit bored and I need something to keep me occupied. While COMC is a massive sports card marketplace, it's not a card show. People on COMC are a lot smarter and they're not looking to just blow their money. There's a lot of sharks in the water, and therefore you have to be really smart with what you buy and what you try to sell. You really have to pick up the deals that are really good. People rarely overpay on COMC, and therefore you have to be patient when you're looking for cards and when you're trying to sell them. And another thing is you're going to have losses. Lots of them. It's not something I've really touched on in this video, but trust me, I've sold so many cards for break even and a ton for losses. Here are just a few of them to prove it. So even when you manage to hit more than you miss, you still need to miss a lot to be able to grow a collection like this. Just remember to keep moving, and that a loss is okay. Use the money you got from that sale to buy something better. So yeah, patience. That's my number one piece of advice when starting a flip challenge of your own. But that's it for this one. If you like this video and feel like it brought you some value, consider hitting that like button and subscribing. It would really help me in reaching my 1,000 subscriber goal by the end of the year, and I would really appreciate it. But until next time, we'll catch you on the flip side. Hey, if you liked that video, you might want to check out this one, or maybe even that one. I think you might like those ones as well.